Hello, my dear friends. How are you? I see Barb already. Thank you for joining us, Barb. So today's going to be a little different. Usually I do like a little demo or something, but today it's more a discussion format. So some of you have asked questions, and I have to, hey, Marty, you're home and watching. Cool. Anyway, I feel bad because generally I don't answer the questions. And the reason is, I feel like I need to visually answer the questions. I have a really hard time expressing the answer verbally because I think you need words and pictures, right? And so, and also sometimes it's hard to answer the question because there are different variables. Like, I don't know what mat you're using. I don't know what knife you're using. I don't know what kind of vinyl you're using, etc., etc., etc. But today I'm going to answer a specific question. Someone had, as I understood it, they had scanned in something to the Scan and Cut, and there was 2 lines, and they didn't want to cut both lines. They only wanted to cut the one line. So I did. It's not going to be the same thing that they had, but it's similar. So I made a graphic, and we're going to scan it in, and I'm going to show you how to edit so you don't cut both lines. And then we're going to have a general discussion about the practices Salima and I use. Other people may do it different, but I'm only going to tell you what works for us. And then you guys, you do you, but I'm going to just tell you what works best for us. So hopefully that'll answer some of the questions that I didn't answer. Hopefully you'll answer some of the, it'll be like best practice for vinyl and some of the best practice for fabric. Now, truth be known, usually though, I have cut out fabric, just fabric, no backing on it. But mostly what I do is fabric for applique. So I always put a backing on it, and the backing I like the best is Foriani applique. But everybody has their favorites, and it'll all work. I just like that one the best. So that being said, let's get started, okay? All right, so here's our overhead. So I'm going to start with the scan mat. And what I'm going to do is, this is the graphic I created. I just did it. Publisher, did shapes, and then I copied and duplicated. Anyway, the whole point is I wanted there to be 2 lines. Okay? So I'm going to scan it, and then I'll show you how to edit it. So, and speaking of scan, generally when I scan, I do scan and save it. But we'll get to the machine. Let me figure out which. Okay. So let's go to, we changed the studio up a little bit. It's beautiful. I just have to say, it's glorious. So let me wake up my Scan Cut is on. Let me just wake her up. Just took a coffee break. Getting out my stylist. I'm going to say okay. And, there's an update available. So can you guys see that? It says update available. I'm not going to do it right now because it takes a minute. So if you are connected to your network, all you would have to do is touch that, and then it'll prompt you, and it'll update it. I don't know what's in the update. I just updated mine last night. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to load my mat. And like I said, we aren't going to cut today. We're going to scan. All right, so I'm going to hit my scan. Now, direct cut, good. I think I just talked really loud. Sorry. Direct cut is if I had this on a low tack mat or something like that. Let's say, I know there are a lot of paper crafters out there. You might have a stamped image, and what you could do is put that on your low tack mat, and you could do a direct cut. Maybe sometime, it adds an auto shut off feature. Okay, Linda, thank you. Hey, Abby. And there's Fancy Pants and Janet and Marty. Okay, so anyway, but we're going to scan to cut data, and we aren't actually going to cut. And I am going to say start, and then I know you guys like to watch it, so let me change it so you can watch it. There we go. These cameras are so clear, huh? All right, so it's scanned. I'm going to go back to my design screen. So there we are. So, I'm sorry, I'm in a rolly chair and I have this long skirt on. My skirt keeps going under the wheels. Anyway, so generally, we're going to do this one today. So what this is going to do, well, let's just show you. So that just did the outline. So that only picked up the outside, right? So let's see what this one does. This one, to tell you the truth, so I'm going to see what the difference is. I don't know if that adds a line, but let's see this one. So this one does inside and outside. And this one, and we aren't actually going to cut it. If I was at home, I'd play with it. So let's do this one. So what we're going to do is we're going to draw up the arrows as close as you can, and it gets rid of any of that stuff. There was stuff out here. And I'm going to say preview. And then I'm going to say, okay, I don't know why those lines are on there. It could be that our scanner needs to be clean, but that's okay. So I'm going to say okay. And I'm going to save it to my machine. Hi, Diana from Tennessee. And you did your update yesterday too. So did I. Okay, so it saved it to the machine. I'm just going to hit home and say okay to delete all parents. I'm going to just unload my mat so it's not in my way. All right, then I'm going to go to retrieve data. I'm going to go to my machine, and it'll save it. It's the last thing. There we go. Now look, there's all these extra lines, but that's okay because I'm going to show you something. So we're going to say okay here. And then we're going to say edit. And now I'm going to show you how to get rid of all this extra stuff. So there's the inner circle. Okay, so let's say we want to cut the outer part, not the inner. We want the outie, not the innie. So that inner circle selected, so I can just hit the trash can, okay. Now I do want that one, so I'm going to go move on. So where to go? Oh, see, we have that little extra line, so I'm going to delete it. So this is how you can also, like if you have stuff there for whatever reason, you can just keep scrolling through and deleting what you don't want. So this is how you can clean up your image. And now, yeah, I don't know if you noticed, but in my printout, there's a little break between this line and this line. That's why it's not a solid line. So we're going to delete that. We're going to delete that. We're going to delete this little extra. And there's that inner triangle. We're going to delete. Oops. Sorry. There's the inner triangle, we're going to delete that. There, let's see. There's the inner rectangle, we're going to delete that. And that's the outer. I want the inner, so I'm going to delete that. So our friend who had the question about the line, this is how she would delete it. She would scroll through. So Marty, I have Beto. So anyway, this is what you do. You use these to scroll through and you delete what you don't want. That's how that works. So let's say, oh shoot, you know what? I really want to do the inside, right? So I can hit home, and then if you wanted to, we aren't going to, but you could save this. Once you got rid of all of that extra stuff, you could save it. Then you could cut it, but I'm not going to do that. So I'm going to hit home. Okay, and then I'm going to retrieve it again. Machine, all the way down. I'm going to say okay. And I'm going to say edit again. And I'm just going to scroll again. So this time, we're going to get rid of all that little extra stuff again. It might even be on my scan now, I don't know. When I did it at home, okay, I'm not going to delete that because this time I want to do the inside. And you could, like if I had drawn a solid line where that break was, that break wouldn't be there. Okay, I'm not going to delete that because this time I want the inside. So this is the outside. The rectangles are kind of close together, so it's kind of hard to see. All right, that's the outside, so I'm going to delete that. I want that. I don't want that. I don't want that. I'm going to scroll. I don't want the outer circle. I'm going to scroll because I missed something up there. Okay. And there you are. So you just use these selection arrows to scroll through to clean up whatever it is you don't want. All right? So that is that. I hope that helps that nice girl who had that question. Okay, I'm going to just show you real quick. I'm going to click update. And I'm going to say update. Say okay. And now it's going to do its thing. So we're going to just leave it alone. And we're going to go back to the overhead. All right? And we're going to talk about mats and knives and all the things. And the tools that I like, and that Selima likes, all the things. All right. So here we go. All right, so this is our scan mat, as we used earlier, and I use this, see it's a clean mat, and you can use your other mats to scan on, but they're going to have stuff. Like let's say we used our fabric mat here. Our fabric mat is a little gunky. See, it's all gunked up. So if you use this to scan, you'd pick up all this stuff, and you might not you might not eliminate it by drawing your arrows, but that's okay. You could go back and edit, but it's a lot more work. So if you aren't going to scan and cut directly, I would use the scan mat. It's going to give you a much cleaner scan, okay? So then now while we have our fabric mat out, I still have the protective cover on it. So the fabric mat's gold. And then we have our fabric blade, which is also gold. So what the fabric mat is meant for, so see how clever they are? They match the color to the color of the blade. The mat. So that helps you. Oh, I'm using this color mat. What's the best blade for this mat? So when I use the fabric mat, I generally use this with fabric that doesn't have a backing on it. But that being said, I make it nice and stiff. Like you can use a starch, like we use Best Press. You can use that or Terrio Magic. Terrio Magic is excellent, especially if you're cutting fabric for like a quilting square, because it makes it nice and firm. And then you have the fabric mat, which is very tacky, because what you don't want to have happen is for your fabric to bunch up while it's cutting. I've had that happen. You don't want that to happen. So the best practice is generally you use you do not have a backing on your fabric, because the backing is going to stick to the mat, really, because this is very sticky. So you do not have a backing, and you have stabilized the fabric like Best Press or Terrio Magic. Also, I've used this mat to cut felt. And lots of times I cut felt, I'll use the rotary blade. Rotary blade's really good for detail. It will slow the cutting process down, because the rotary blade, the nature of it is it changes angles. So this is good for kind of like intricate designs. But truth be told, sometimes I thought, oh, the rotary blade would work better. And then I used the rotary blade and it didn't work better. So I would go back to my standard blade or the fabric blade. So that is those. And that's our fabric mat. So then, get all this out of the way. So then we have our low-tack mat. So the low-tack mat, this is generally what our paper crafters use, right? The low-tack mat is meant for like paper. Because if you put paper on the standard mat, chances are the paper is going to stick to the mat and you're going to tear it. So the best practice for paper is a low-tack mat. And truthfully, when I use a low-tack mat, standard blades in the machine. When I use the low-tack mat, I use the standard blade. Okay? Now you guys, you find what works best for you. I'm just saying what Salima and I have used that is successful for us. Because, you know, a lot of people play and experiment, and sometimes you do things like I don't cut just regular fabric very often. I always have a backing on. So someone who does that type of cutting more often might have a better best practice than I do for doing that, right? So we all find what works best for us, but I'm just telling you what we do, trying to help you out a little bit. Okay, so low tack, standard blade. My mats are slipping over here. I know, let me just put them on the ground. Oops, because they're going to just fall on the ground. They want my phone. All right, now, this is the mat, truthfully, that I use the most. This is my beautiful standard mat. Now, you'll see, we love this mat. It's very well used. And you'll see that if we scanned with this mat, we'd have all kinds of gunky stuff in the background, right? So, all right, with standard mat, you can use any of the blades. Although I don't use the fabric blade, but I will use the rotary blade, I'll use the standard blade, and I'll use the vinyl blade. Okay, so the standard blade, I will use this for cutting fabric with backing on it, or the rotary blade, fabric with backing on it. Now what I truthfully cut the most is vinyl. So there's our vinyl blade. It's this pale, pretty blue. So just keep in mind, here comes the questions about vinyl. Just keep in mind when you cut vinyl, if it's heat transfer vinyl, you want to put that right side down on the mat, unless the vinyl is a specialized vinyl and they have different instructions. And then when you're putting a vinyl right side down on the mat, whatever you're doing, you want to mirror image it if it makes a difference. If it's a symmetrical design, it doesn't matter. But if you're doing words or something that one side is bigger than the other, you're going to want to mirror image it. Because remember, you're cutting it from the wrong side. So when you turn it over and weed it, the right side, it has to be mirrored. And then always, 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 when you're using vinyl, set your machine to half cut. Always. And we can go back and I can show you that. So vinyl blade, and I always use, when I cut vinyl, no matter how simple or intricate the design is, I'll use my vinyl blade. And then so if you're using pressure sensitive vinyl, or also known as adhesive vinyl, that vinyl goes right side up. And that vinyl is going to also be cut at a half cut. And that vinyl requires a transfer medium, so it's kind of like a sticky tape, but it's made especially for vinyl. All right, and then let me go back to the machine and show you about the half cut. I think we've all demonstrated it. Oh, I can't do it. Sorry, I forgot. We're updating. So it says it's saving. So once it saves it, then you can turn the machine off. So also this mat, while we're here, let me clean this mat. I'll show you. You can get to the. So we use, when we clean mats, we use alcohol-free. Sorry, I didn't think this till now. We use alcohol-free baby wipes. Alcohol-free. It doesn't matter what brand. This is alcohol-free and generally fragrance-free baby wipes. And we just clean it up. And this helps bring back the sticky. I don't know what we were cutting out of this, but it's... Oh, I know. I was cutting cork. So, cork leaves residue. So you can cut up with these new models, with the DX models, you can cut up to 3 millimeters thick. So you can cut like marine grade vinyl, cork, you can cut chipboard. So if you're cutting like chipboard, I don't know that the low-tack mat, if it'll stick hard enough for the low-tack mat. Our little mat was pretty dirty. Now see, it leaves these little indentations, but that doesn't matter. That's not hurting the mat. So let's clean her up. Also, because we're a brother dealer, we do not recommend off-brand products. We recommend only the brother products for like mats and blades and things like that. But what you do in the privacy of your own home is your own business, but to keep your warranty intact, it's a good idea to not use off-brand. Sometimes off-brand could damage your machine. All right, so my mat's clean, then you let it dry, and it gets sticky again. There was something, I want to talk to you about other tools. So I use a brayer all the time. This helps braid down whatever you're doing. And then I like to, because I've had experiences where even though my mat's tacky, whatever I'm doing might peel up, right? And you don't want that to happen right in the middle of your cutting, because it'll dry again, mess the whole thing up. So this is R&K embroidery pink tape. It's very tacky. You can use it over and over again. And the thing about this is, because it is tacky, it doesn't pull up. So some people have used painter's tape, that blue tape, but what happens is it might pull up and it might get on your scan, the scanner. So we have a story where a customer came in and everything she scanned had this line on it. And so our tech opened it up and it turned out she had blue tape on her scanner. So that's why we don't recommend the blue tape. Evie asked, which vinyl do you like best? So that's another variable in your questions about vinyl, because someone had it where I think they were cutting a very intricate design and the vinyl just like pulled up. So that's one thing where the vinyl blade comes in. Especially if you have intricate design, you definitely want to use the vinyl blade. But another thing is the quality of the vinyl. So the vinyl that I have found that I like best is Siser vinyl. It's Siser. I know that Michaels carries it. Of course, Amazon carries it. And then there are some stores who specialize in carrying, like a small local business who specializes in, like, focuses on vinyl products, and they'll carry it. So if you have someone local, please cater to them. If not, You can do Michael's or Amazon. I don't think Hobby Lobby, they don't carry the Caesar blend. It's pronounced Caesar, even though it's Siser. I think it's made in Italy. I'm not sure. Anyway, so this mat is pretty much dry. So then we have some other tools. Another thing that's good to have in your arsenal of tools. Yeah, if you do chipboard, you gotta really tape it down. That's right. Is a spatula to, like, let's say I'm cutting rhinestone flock. Those little circles get on my mat, so this helps get them off. Then a little vinyl weeder. So this one has a pretty fine point, but then we also have this one that's embellished, and that's part of the R&K. This one has a super fine point. So depending on what you're doing, there's that. And then we have an extra stylus. I don't know if they still make these toolkits. And then we have a scraper. And we also have tweezers. So as I'm talking, I'm thinking about things. So another thing we like to do is we like to draw. But speaking of vinyl, one of the things that's helpful with vinyl, especially sometimes if you use this technique with adhesive vinyl, you might see the line, depending, because the cut might not be exactly on the drawn line. But if you're doing a heat transfer vinyl, this works great. It helps you to weed, especially if you have an intricate design. You're like, wait a minute, it's hard to see anyway, and then you're like, what do I take off, what do I not take off? Well, if you draw the design before you cut the vinyl, that gives you an outline of your design, and that helps you to weed it easier. I love this technique. Selima came back from a convention quite a while ago and told us about that technique. I love that technique. And then, of course, you can also draw on fabric. You can draw to make your cards or your paper projects. So Selima only has a universal blade in her little tool kit here, but they also make a narrower one so that you can use narrower pins. This will fit a Sharpie fine point. It's not going to fit the little Chubba Bubby Sharpies. This is the biggest they'll fit. And Sharpie's permanent, so if I'm doing fabric or whatever, I use the Sharpie pen. So that's the universal pin holder. Now, our machine has finished updating. Oh, yeah, Jana, I love that tip. And you know, we have done some serious weeding in our time. So let me go back to the scan and cut. Let me just show you that where you turn on the half cut real quick, okay? And then I'll let you go continue. I think that's it. Unless you have questions. We love questions. All right. Let me just wake up my machine. I'm going to say okay. Or then just pretend we're cutting something. Okay, it doesn't matter. My stethoscope. There we go. That's just, we're pretending. We're going to say set. We're going to say okay. Let me move this guy. We're going to say okay. And then we're going to say please select. We're going to say cut. We're not really going to cut. We're pretending. All right. So see the half cut? Oh, you know what? Because there's not that loaded. Let's see if they'll let me anyway. All right. So let me just say okay. I selected the tool, and then I'm going to scroll down, and my half cut's on. If it were off, I'd want to turn it on if I'm doing vinyl. The reason why it's not showing up here is because I don't have a mat loaded. All right, let's make the machine happy and just load the mat. Let's make her happy. still not showing. I don't have an answer for that. Let's just play. I don't know whether the half cut's not showing. I have a mat in there and I have a design. I don't think it knows that, doesn't know that there's nothing on the mat. Maybe it's smarter than I thought. Let's see. All right, now let's say okay. Please select cut. That's still not showing. Okay, I don't have an answer why that's not showing. But we know the half cut's on. Now let's try this. Let's try it off. Let's go back and turn it on. Oh, you know what? I know the answer. Da, 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 da. There's no blade in it. I don't have a blade in there. That's why it's not. Okay, let's say okay. The process of elimination. There, it's on now. So if it were off, it would look like this. Okay. So the whole problem is I didn't have a blade in the machine. That's why the half cut wasn't showing. See, these machines are so smart. Obviously smarter than I am. And there you go. So that's what you want when you're cutting adhesive vinyl, when you're cutting HTV vinyl, when you're cutting, there's a product put out by R&K, it's a heat transfer foil. When you're cutting that, you want to use it. Anything that's going to have a carrier sheet built in or that has a backing sheet and you're going to have to use a carrier sheet. That's when you're going to use your half cut. All right, because I think at first when these machines came out, people were having problems where it was cutting through the mat, and it was because they were cutting vinyl and they didn't have that half cut on. So that was the problem. All right, so I'm going to go back. And do we have any other questions, my friends? I hope that helps a lot. And you know what? Going forward, I'm going to be more mindful. I'm going to start making notes of the questions you have and then answer them in this form because I just can't, I don't know. I can't write the answer because I need pictures. For me, I need pictures to go with the answers. That's just how my brain works. So anyway, do you have any further questions? Well, we're on the topic. So we covered the mats, we covered the blades, what to use when, we covered how to edit a scanned image, and we talked about the vinyl I like and the backing for applique fabric. All right. Thank you so much, you guys. It's the weekend. Yay! It's almost back to school, so that might make some mothers and fathers very happy. I don't think I have anything else. It's hot here, but I know we shouldn't complain because our heat is totally different than other people. So anyway, everybody have a great weekend. Stay cool, and we look forward to seeing you again. Take care. Bye-bye.